talk about jungle plants. Can we please? Specifically, today I want to talk about some of the master plants from the Amazon that are most commonly used in the amazing transformative master plant diet process. So I'm going to highlight 8 to 10 of the most common jungle plants. Share with you some of their personality traits, some of the awesome things that await us if we commit to doing the journey of having a master plant diet with a jungle master. So if you're new to the whole master plant diet process, I've shared a bunch of information about that recently in both my personal the Afterlife Coach feed and also Plant Medicine People. So if you want to acquaint yourself to that, there's lots of info out there. Today is about the plants themselves that are available, or at least a few of them. There are actually hundreds and hundreds of master plants all across the world. But the plants that we typically work with in the jungle, of course, are from that area. And that is the area where the tribes developed this process of connecting with a plant in this really intimate way. So here are some of the most potent and common plants that you can diet in an isolated master plant diet experience. The first one that I want to name is Ajo Sacha. Ajo Sacha is very commonly worked with as a first diet for people, partly because Ajo Sacha is super good for the body, very helpful with digestion, really, really potent with just overall cellular detoxing. But as a consciousness, Ajo Sacha, I call Ajo a subconscious expander. Really helps us tap into our dream space, bring to earth, or bring to the surface some of our past traumas or repressed memories. Ajo also really helps us communicate with spirit, to tap into the subtle energy bodies and our ability to have this psychic communication. So Ajo is an awesome plant ally to have for any of us that are on the shamanic path and are learning to get out of the density of duality and to communicate with consciousness on a different level. So Ajo is an awesome diet. Ajo is interesting too because typically, we feel into the vibration of a plant as being masculine or feminine, but Ajo is undoubtedly, for me anyway, non-binary. Ajo showed up as masculine and feminine in my diet. It's very much a they energy. And that's part of the energy of the subconscious too, of sort of pushing out of the boundaries that the conscious mind likes to create, of putting things in classifications. So Ajo is super special. Marosa, that's the next plant I want to highlight. Marosa is pure love. She is a very light-filled, pure feminine spirit. Marosa helps the heart. She's the queen of love. That's what we kind of reference her as a jungle plant. She helps dieters who are healing broken hearts, who have dysfunctional relationships, want to understand more of why we're relating to people from a place of conflict and trauma instead of the purity of love. So she is magical at all matters of the heart. The only tricky part of Marosa, because she's so pure in her own energy, it's really important to diet her with a guide that carries that same heart-connected light, because she's very susceptible to the energies that she comes through. So she's one that's sometimes used in abuse because humans are humans and we do this sort of thing. So if you work with Marosa, just the added caveat is please make sure you're working it with someone that has that same feeling, that vibration of love and heart connectedness. Chirik Sanango. There's actually several plants in the Sanango family that are masters. Chirik means itchy, and so Chirik Sanango is considered in part the masculine counterpart to ayahuasca. It's a very masculine plant. That itchy, the reason why he's named Chirik is because when you consume him and work with him in a diet, it can make you feel really itchy from the inside out. So he's doing a few things with that vibration of itchiness. He's resetting the nervous system. He releases trauma that is trapped there. It's also really common to shake a lot when you work with Chirik, in addition to that itchiness feeling, because he's shaking out a lot of the toxic vibrations that get stuck specifically in our nervous systems. He's also medicinally powerful. He helps, detox the nervous system on a cellular level. In addition to kind of like Ajo Sacha, he can open us up to being far more sensitive to the connection and communication with spirit. So Chirik is a badass, is a really strong diet typically. The caveat I want to add with working with Chirik is that the integration is essential because you're going to be super cracked open and sensitive. It's part of our superpowers when we crack into our sensitivity to be able to read people, energies, etc. But it's also something we have to learn to protect. So in the aftermath of a Chirik diet, it's really important to protect your space for a period of time, to not go right back into the jarring, crazy world, because it takes a while to ground in and to create a sense of safety in this dense place again after dieting a plant that is as sensitive as Chirik. And then Chirik has a brother named Uchu Sanango, which is for me going to be my next jungle diet. I am so connected to this plant. If you've worked with the Sanango eye drops at all, this is Uchu. Uchu's made into eye drops because Uchu works with the third eye and the whole experience of being clairvoyant, of the relationship we have with vision. So it is a common experience in a deep diet with Uchu Sanango that one goes blind, or at least very fuzzy for a period of time, because Uchu is resetting all of the nerves and the muscles that relate to the experience of seeing. So after a diet with Uchu, the way you see the world drastically changes. At least that's what I've heard, and I can't wait to experience him because I love the Sanango medicine. So Uchu is obviously one you want very strict guidance on, because going through that process of resetting your eyeballs is no joke. But what an incredible medicine to help us lift the veil and to be able to see things more as they really are. And also to release any of the traumas that are held in our eyeballs. A lot of us see things in this life and other lives that we'd like to unsee. Uchu can help with that, to release the muscle memory of the traumas that we have witnessed. Now I'll talk about Chuchuwasi. Chuchuwasi is another really classic jungle diet. Chu is a gigantic tree, a massive tree consciousness. And so when we diet trees, always it's kind of a bigger journey because they take up more space. It often takes longer to root in to the energy of a tree and longer for it to release because they're huge. And Chuchuwasi in particular is a master tree. So again, it's a big diet, but Chuchuwasi is used by a lot of the people in the Amazon as a general daily tonic because she is so healthy for the body. So massively helpful with inflammation, digestive issues, overall lack of vitality. She brings in life force, to help people feel more empowered and strengthened to walk in this crazy world. In addition to all kinds of different physical ailments that Chuchuwasi helps to heal. And it is a very long list. If you're called to this plant at all, look her up, because there's a lot of people who have shared miraculous stories in the aftermath of dieting her, of what's happened on a physical and energetic level. But it's not an easy process to bond with a tree like this in the jungle, but there are so many rewards of working with Chuchuwasi. Chuchuwasi actually means trembling back, because one of her superpowers is to not only heal from a perspective of pain, back pain, but also to start releasing the story that most of us have when we have back pain around carrying the weight of the world and carrying energies and things that aren't ours. So she helps us to sort of alchemize and change those stories, in addition to being a painkiller for intense back pain, arthritis kind of pain, joint pain, etc. Remo Caspi is my next one. I've had the honor of dieting Remo. Remo is referred to as the warrior tree. So again, tree consciousness, no joke, very big energy. Remo is fascinating for me though, because when I dieted him, I expected the traditional experience of warrior energy. So like a blast of masculine intensity and this feeling of being like, what we call a warrior. What Remo taught me anyway, because I think it's obviously what I needed to learn at that point, is that true warrior energy doesn't attack, it just defends, and it comes from love. Like, so the warrior energy that awoken in me after working with Remo was very much softer than I expected. Still fierce, but more in terms of protecting myself rather than wanting to be righteous. Remo really held me accountable for my righteousness and bringing that back into the truth that my righteous agenda is ego. And that's not what I want to be a warrioress around. I want to be protective of myself first and foremost, and the people that I love and the beings that I love. So he flipped the script for me around what a warrior really feels and looks like. And it was really, really magical. And I think a lot of us need that sort of reframe because there's so much conflict in the world based on the idea of what a warrior looks like. And I think we have a lot to learn, and Remo is the tree to show us. Uña de gato is the next one. Uña de gato means cat's claw. Uña is very well known in herbalism in addition to jungle master plant diets because she too is a medicinal powerhouse. Uña can clean on a cellular level. I've dieted her too. Wow. Like what happened to me physically, not to be too graphic, but the purging that was happening was intense. And I mean, not out this way. She cleaned me out and I could feel it happening on such a deep level. So she too is really amazing for arthritis. And hi, it's my cat saying hi. Arthritis, inflammation, digestive issues. She's anti-tumor. So she's wonderful for people who either have cancer in their families or are dealing with that currently, because she can help diminish tumors. She's a badass cleaner. And clearly, because she's named Cat's Claw, she works with feline energy, which is why my cat is meowing right now. She is known to inhabit either the body of a panther or a puma or a jaguar. She appears quite often for people who diet her in that feline way. And she's fierce like a cat. Like she's gonna go in and clean house, and she doesn't really care if it's uncomfortable or not. You know, that's her job. And so her spiritual medicine is also bringing us into our own ferocity and a little bit like Remo, you know, our energy of protectiveness of ourselves. Because one thing that Uña wants to teach is like, she's not just going to help us purify, she wants to help us realize the reasons why we allowed those toxicities in to begin with. She holds us accountable for our own protection going forward. She doesn't want to just clean up. She wants to teach us to not have to get into that same predicament again. So she's amazing. And she's another medicine that is used by the indigenous people in the Amazon for just about any ailment and as a daily sort of tonic to support good physical health. So, amazing diet. Ayauma, another gigantic tree. I haven't dieted her yet, but she's on my list. She is known essentially as the trauma tree. Ayauma, her superpower is digging deep into stored trauma and releasing it through the nervous system and out the chakra. Ayauma, the etymology, it means Aya means dead, like ayahuasca, dead or soul. So we often call ayahuasca vine of the soul. So Ayauma, Uma means head. So it literally means dead head. She would have liked a certain music band, right? They named her that in part because the pods on the tree are very heavy and sort of look that way. But I also think Ayauma is a fitting name for her because she really like cuts off connection to the separate part of the mind, the ego. She's really a great teacher around our relationship with our ego because she releases a lot of energy and opens the crown chakra, but she does it through light, through tremendous light. So she's really an amazing shadow worker too, of showing us where we're telling ourselves lies, being in victim consciousness, you know, holding us in nurturing compassion for the things that we have been through that have created a feeling of victim consciousness, but not allowing us to tell the story that it is true that we were victims. It's really interesting nuance, right? To honor the pain that we've gone through, but to not let ourselves spiral into the story of being a victim. So that's Ayauma's superpower. She's amazing for people who are trying to heal from really awful things that have happened in their journeys. And lastly, I'll talk about the biggest diet, at least that I'm aware of, Noyarao. So Noyarao is the tree of light. And I call her my end-of-life diet because Noyarao is such a big, discerning, and even commanding plant consciousness that the traditions that work with her in a really reverent way, they say that there's a lot of lifestyle protocols that have to be adhered to in the aftermath of working with Noyarao and diet, or she will abandon the relationship with that person. And they're pretty strict. One of them, the one that is most near and dear to me, is Noyarao doesn't work well with a lot of other plant consciousnesses, including Wachuma, which is a medicine that I carry, cannabis, and I believe mushrooms. There's a pretty long list that she doesn't play well with. So if you diet her, they like you to have a commitment that you're going to be true to her in that sense and honor the restrictions. She doesn't like, for example, to be around blood. So you definitely don't want to diet her if you work in an emergency room, because she will not be around those kinds of energies, unless it's your own blood, by the way. Apparently that's okay. But she's a unique diet in that typically when we diet the plants, there isn't a long list of things that we can no longer do in the aftermath. They're more forgiving. Noyarao is the tree of light, and she only wants to be around that vibration. So it is a huge commitment to diet her and to honor the vibration that she carries, not only in the diet, but forevermore, at least in this lifetime. So I look at her as the diet that I want to do when I know I'm not here for much longer, because I won't give up Wachuma. But I honor the tradition, and it makes sense to me why she has preferences, basically, but really epically magical tree. So those are the jungle plants I wanted to share with you all to just kind of let you know what is possible in this process of dieting some of the jungle plants. I also love dieting plants from other parts of the world, but the traditions that grounded in the process of master plant diets, they're from the jungle. And so those are the classic ones to work with. If you're called to have this experience, reach out to me. We offer retreats at my company, Plant Medicine People, with master plants, jungle diets, held by a jungle maestro, but also we do one-on-one remote diets for the plants that can do remote diets. Big diets like Chirik Sanango, you gotta do it in person, but diets like Marosa, you can do from the comfort of your home if you're called to. So if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them, but thank you so much for showing up and listening to Plant Talk with me. Next week, I'm gonna talk about deciphering the visions that come through, especially with ayahuasca, because they're mysterious sometimes. So we will talk about how to make sense of the language that she speaks, especially in symbols. So I'll see you then. Everybody be safe and happy out there. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye.